Hey, how you doing, Daniel? Rose Tires and the Writer's Life. Bank holiday Monday evening. A hot and uncomfortable day in London. If, like me, you're not a sun worshipper, uh, just been indoors since the run this morning. Just sweating. Gonna have a shower again after I finish uploading this. This weather reminds me that, I didn't sleep well last night, and it just reminds me of how badly I used to sleep on the few family holidays we had in Spain's deep south. And the last couple of those holidays, I went over there already as an insomniac, which I remain to this day. And it really used to annoy my uncle, whose house we used to stay in Puente Mayorga, which is, I didn't say that right. No point repeating it. You don't know any better anyway. So my cousin and I would sleep with my uncle on single beds in his room. I didn't phrase that right. We'd all sleep in the same room, separate beds. And my uncle would want to open windows, which I wasn't keen on because, I don't like creepy crawlies. So I was always worried about anything creeping in, any little sound that I could hear. And I'd be irritating my uncle, getting up multiple times every night. I'd have my little torch because my uncle used to get annoyed with me switching on lights. And, I'd had a torch since I was about 4. My dad was obsessed with torches. I don't know why he thought I needed a torch at 4. It's not like I was going to be going anywhere on my own at the age of 4, but torches had been a regular feature of my life since I was given my first torch. And I remember an incident. I'll try and spare you the explicit detail. But I knew my uncle was asleep. He was snoring loudly. He was probably the most extreme snorer I've ever encountered. Although my uncle over here in London runs him close. And my uncle in Spain, he passed away in '96, but he used to wheeze a lot because he was a heavy smoker. I got up this particular night with my torch, went into the bathroom, all the while just using the torch to get in there, didn't switch the light on, about to urinate. There's the tremor again. This is just, it's not easy to hold this. I was about to urinate, and this massive moth, I kid you not, maybe it was the Mothman, I don't know. It was massive. It literally pounced on my bits. I had the torch in one hand, so it was obviously attracted by the light, and I just sprayed that bathroom. I've never forgotten that. It's hard to think that that was 32 summers ago. It taught me never to use a torch in a bathroom in a hot country where there are likely to be little winged things flying around. That was a harsh lesson I learned. So, not a big fan of the heat. Been toweling myself all day. Say second shower lined up. I'll turn the fan on. Couldn't open the bedroom window again for the second successive day because the 70 something neighbour is out there in a bikini and a big hat. Important that she wears her big hat. She does love the sun. She's very good that on the occasions when I'm opening the window, when she's out there, when I've committed to opening the window, when it's too late, she knows I'm at the window, she knows I'm gonna open the window. She pretends not to see me, I pretend not to see her, and I'm struggling with the window. It's an old window, the blinds aren't great either. My technique with the blinds is poor, as you know, as I've said on here. I'm a net curtains guy. So she was out there, so I just didn't open the window again. Although, as I say, she's very good. She won't look up. She won't do that thing where she looks up as soon as she hears a window, which people automatically do, which I have done myself in the past. She just lets you get on with it. But the fact is, it takes me so long to open that window, and the audio is so loud that it's just embarrassing. So I've kept the window closed, which apparently is the thing to do in this heat with your bedroom. I read that, I think, during the heat wave earlier this summer. You draw the blinds, keep the window closed, keep the heat out. So I suppose that makes sense, but it does feel a bit stuffy, and now I'll be turning the fan on tonight. My day was otherwise occupied by gluing this guy, officially known by Star Wars collectors as Big Head Han Solo. He wasn't the original Kenner action figure. For some reason, they had a little reboot of the character around 82, 83 and gave him this big head. And there's a story on my website, danielruiztyson.com, about my Han Solo thing. I seem to be cursed with the Han Solo action figure. I'm a big Star Wars action figure fan, the original figures. I'm not that big a fan of the films. I'd happily not go to the cinema again to see a Star Wars film. You know, obviously as a kid, the first three films I loved. I went to see the remastered, whatever they're called now, episode 4 to 6. A New Hope, I think. I was wearing chinos that night, went to the Marble Arch Odeon, someone spilt hot chocolate on my chinos, so I didn't have the best of times, but it was exciting. I got caught up in all that fervour at the time of, a chance to see the original Star Wars or the remastered Star Wars at the cinema. But Phantom Menace killed all of that. The Star Wars figures, though, were my thing and remain my thing for the simple reason that, as I touched on yesterday, Sabucho, I think, is the greatest toy that was ever invented for boys, but for me it wasn't enough. I didn't like playing with identikit teams. I wanted to build teams. So there was car football, where we built teams, my cousins and I, and we had proper league seasons, cup competitions. And for myself, there was Star Wars football. I had 8 teams. Solo was captain for X-Wing, who were cup specialists, always disappointed in the league. There was Rebels, there was Empire, Tatooine. Have I said that right? Because I spent 30 years saying Tatooine, or Tatooine actually I used to say. I don't know, whatever they're called. They were the best team anyway in Star Wars football. Originally had R2-D2 and C-3PO up front. What a strike force. Death Star, Bespin, that was a derby. That was the first ever game in Star Wars football. There was Alderaan, X-Wing, Hoth, Empire, Rebels. I think I might have missed out one team. There were 8 teams anyway. This guy, the original Han Solo, which I bought from Bon Marsh as a kid in Brixton. In the spring of '83, this kid came to my house. I'd known him for a few years by then. For some reason, everyone, including myself, wanted to be his friend. He wasn't a great kid, really. But for some reason, teachers loved him. I think his dad was one of the school governors, so everyone wanted to be in his good books. And he came over to my family bedsit, and we were playing with the Star Wars figures. And he asked if he could take Han Solo and the Hoth Stormtrooper home for the weekend. And of course, I felt in a bit of a corner, because I knew if I said no, it would be all round the class by the Monday morning. So against my better judgment, I said yes. On the Monday, he comes back. All I get back is Hoth Stormtrooper. He's covered in chocolate. Chocolate, which to this day, I've not been able to completely wipe off. And I just thought, how do you return something to people like this? Because that's not something that I do. Even as a kid, if I borrowed something, it would be returned in the same condition. And, it's why I don't read and eat at the same time. Although, it can be a relaxing thing. I don't understand how people do it. I borrow lots of library books. They're always in a state. There's bits of food in them, bits of biscuit crumbs and, ketchup stains. You're unlikely to be the first borrower of that book. What are you doing eating while you're reading that book? So I'm like that with things. I like to, I just think it's a lack of respect when you return things in a shabby condition. I asked the kid, "Where's Han Solo?" "Oh, I've lost him." Like it was nothing. I've lost him. How can you lose something that you've just borrowed on the Friday? There was no explanation. I didn't push him for an explanation. I didn't say to him, "Okay, let's have a look at what you did after you left my house. Where did you go? What did you do once you got home? Did you play with the Han Solo and Hoth Stormtrooper at home? What room were you in? Did any of your 2 brothers take them? Were they playing with them as well?" I just, it's painful to this day because this was not the original Han Solo. So for 18 months, X-Wing were without their inspirational original Han Solo. This Solo I found about 18 months later after searching so many shops. My mum took my sister and I to, it was either East Lane Market or Petticoat Lane Market, or, I'm terrible with names. It was the one near Camberwell. And I didn't go there with any expectancy that I would find Han Solo there, but I saw that there was a stall with action figures, Star Wars action figures, and I saw Solo there, and I thought, oh, I've got to have him. Finally, I found my Solo. So X-Wing got their captain back. He just had a bigger head. Incidentally, obviously, that was my childhood nickname, Big Head, being a forceps delivery. My mum had no idea what she started with that. And I remember a few years ago, I used the Big Head nickname as a verification question for some account. And I had to phone up the place. I don't know whether it was a phone company or what. I had to phone them up some years ago, and the verification question was childhood nickname. And I said Big Head. And then I felt compelled to explain how I'd got the nickname as a kid, went into the whole forceps thing, etc., etc. So never used the Big Head thing for a verification question again. I don't know if this guy will ever be good enough to play Star Wars football again. This arm I've had to glue. There's a crack in his neck you might be able to see. So the arm just came off today, wear and tear. They've been bagged up for a while. There's glue on his face. I've never been great with arts and crafts. But I love these guys. They do say, actually, I think it's something that was mentioned in Mindhunter, which I enjoyed watching. I finished the second series. I think Netflix is a little overrated. You have to work hard to find good stuff on there. Mindhunter is one of its better shows. I think the second series was a step up on the first series. And there was a moment, giving no spoilers away, hopefully, where, is it Tench? Again, bad with names. His character says something along the lines of, or someone says something along the lines of, when someone's going through some trauma, they can revert back to their childhood. His kid is playing with his baby toys. There may be an element of that with this, but they make me very nostalgic. And, like this guy, if you see his build, I mean, he was a kind of Michel Platini type player, very languid on the ball. He was a playmaker. And as much as I was a collector of Star Wars figures, I wouldn't actually buy the shorter figures. I had the R2-D2, the R5-D4 droids, Power Droid, the small droids, but that was before I started playing Star Wars football. But once I started playing Star Wars football in October '82, I believe it was, from then on, any Star Wars action figure I bought had to be suitable for Star Wars football. So any of the smaller action figures, they didn't really interest me. The goalkeepers, I'd say the Hoth-based Rebel characters were very good. I think 3 or 4 of them went on to become goalkeepers in Star Wars football. Big hands, big strong hands. The Tusken Raider, brilliant goalkeeper. The X-Wing goalkeeper, again, big hands, very, very steady keeper. So hopefully I've done enough with the glue here. And just so many memories. That was a great Christmas '84. It really was. That was a beautiful day. It was a Sunday. Went to the market, then went to a birthday party in a pub in Clapham North that evening. And then after that, we went to friends across the road. It was, when you're a kid, a day like that, it just stays in your memory forever. And that day was extra special because I got my Han Solo again, albeit one with a big head. If you're watching this, if you're a seller of Star Wars figures, I've already had messages, do you want to buy a Han Solo, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to be buying any action figures for a while. It's not a priority. So, but I hope you enjoy this video. Please click the share button. No, the subscribe button. Click that. Share, like the video. And I'll probably be back with you tomorrow. Enjoy your evening.